Hey guys, it is Mitchell, and in today's video, I want to talk about my current lens lineup that I have for my Sony A6500, how it compares in regards to handling and performance with my previous lens lineup for my Nikon D750, and overall what some of my recommendations are for new Sony owners coming from a full frame DSLR system. Before we jump into that, I want to go ahead and tell everybody about my Facebook group, Travel Tubers. It is a wonderful community where YouTubers and video creators alike come to connect, share their work, and experiences of traveling and creating content around the world. Also, if you're into the whole blockchain thing, I am on STEEMIT. STEEMIT is a blockchain social network where you basically get paid for creating content and sharing it with people. I've made a little over 150 bucks worth of cryptocurrency in the last 2 months that I've been a member, just simply reposting content I've already created for other outlets such as Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. If you're a creator and you're looking to get paid on some of your work, you might find an audience on STEEMIT, so go ahead and check out my profile, create one for yourself. I don't get paid if you sign up, so it's not like an affiliate marketing thing, just a way for creators to get paid for their content. Let's jump into the lenses I own. The first one on this list is the one I'm using to film this video with. It's the Sigma 16mm f1.4, and it is by far one of my most used lenses. It's equivalent to like a 24mm f2-ish in regards to depth of field on a full frame camera, and it really gets you some phenomenal results. It is a phenomenal piece of glass for both video and stills. Only downside is the focus by wire system, but it's not that bad. Next on this list is a lens I actually just picked up, and that's the Sigma 30mm f1.4, another one of their contemporary series of lenses, and it is a really sharp, like 48mm equivalent focal length. I've personally never been a big fan of the 50mm focal length, but for video work and as an all-around piece of equipment to use, it is a great focal length to have. The 1.4 aperture is really fast, and you can get some great out-of-focus area with it. Sigma actually announced a firmware update for this lens back in February, and most owners of this lens don't know about the firmware update. They don't know about how to update it, and it's transformed the lens. It gives the lens focus qualities in regards to speed and manual focus, which is something that the 30mm has always lacked. Basically equivalency to the 16mm. Next on this list is the cheap 25mm 1.8 lens. It's been sold under the name Explorer. It's been sold under the name 7 Artisans. I'm not sure if it's the 7 Artisans one or what it is, but it's a cheap 25mm 1.8 all manual lens for APS-C cameras. And I have this lens right now for a couple of reasons. First is size. While the Sigma 30mm is a great lens, this one is smaller. The focal range is essentially equivalent to 35mm, which I really like for video and I like for photo. Also, it's small and it makes the A6500 look less assuming, which if you're wandering around on the street in Vietnam or you're trying to do street photography, it's a big benefit to have. It's lightweight. Now, it's not the sharpest lens. It doesn't handle chromatic aberration particularly well. It doesn't handle lens flare particularly well. But if you're aware of these things, you can usually get around it and get some great images. I've taken a lot of images with it. It's usually the lens that stays on my camera for the longest period of time. And overall, it's one that I can suggest simply because of the price point on it. It's around between 50 and 100 bucks, I think. That's how much I paid for my copy here in Vietnam. Your experience may vary. I'll link to it on Amazon down below, along with all of the other lenses I am suggesting if you would want to purchase them. The Sony 85mm is a lens that I bought about a month ago, and my usage with it is really varied. It's great for video because on an APS-C size body, you're pretty close to the 135 millimeter focal length. You're at like 127. It's a 1.8, which is great for low light. It's great for isolating your subject and giving you a more kind of intimate narrative just because of how much subject isolation there is. And it handles direct sunlight well. It's made decently well, and you can get them for pretty cheap. I paid roughly $420, $430 for a used copy here in Vietnam. And I know that you can get a similar deal for the 85 millimeter on eBay. Another lens I wanted to add onto this list is actually a lens that I have adapted from my Nikon D750, and is the Nikon 50mm 1.4D lens. It has a long focus throw, but the manual focus operation on it isn't particularly nice, and I'm considering getting it out of my camera bag in favor of either a Sony 55mm f1.8 or potentially another older lens that is manual focus that I will adapt to it. I enjoy the 50mm focal length, especially when I'm using manual focus for some reason. On a crop sensor, it comes up to about 75, 78 millimeters, and it's just been a lens I've been happy with. Last but not least, I have what I'd like to call the Taurus lens, which is the kit lens, the 16 to 50 millimeter Sony lens. This is the lens that I only own for times that I want to vlog, that I want to not really care about image quality. It's a small lens, it's a cheap lens. You cannot get great subject isolation out of it. It's not particularly sharp. And that's it. But it's a great, really small lens that makes the A6500 a pocketable camera, and that's why I own it. Okay, now if you guys noticed a common theme on this, it's that I am choosing to shoot primarily prime lenses on the A6500. Now, if you're a full-frame DSLR user, you're going to be used to the subject isolation that you can achieve with a 2.8 zoom on a full frame camera. I was looking through my photo library the other day and I saw a bunch of photos at like odd focal lengths. I saw one at 43 millimeters and I shot it at f3.5, and the subject was isolated and the background was blown out. And just looking through other photos I've taken, I really like to employ subject isolation, and that can not only be a product of focal length, but it can be a product of aperture and focal length combinations. And I really, really enjoyed that. Now on the A6500, it's a smaller sensor, so to compensate for that, I'm choosing to shoot prime lenses, and that way I can still achieve an out of focus area subject isolation when I need it. And for video, it allows you to shoot wide open in lower light circumstances and actually get a greater depth of field. So there's pluses, there's minuses to the smaller sized sensor of the A6500. Overall, I would say that some smaller, relatively lightweight prime lenses in your bag can more than compensate for the lack of subject isolation at 2.8 or at f4 in normal zoom lenses. I wanted to make this video not necessarily to recommend all A6500 users to buy these lenses, but if you are coming from a full frame DSLR, these are focal lengths and lenses that you will appreciate, that you will use a lot. Overall, I'm pretty happy with them coming from a set of full frame Nikkor 2.8 zooms. If you guys enjoyed this video, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button. I'm Mitchell Millennial, Hanoi, Vietnam. Peace.